Hallo, das ist Abschnitt 21 und hier geht es um trennbare und nicht trennbare Verben. This chapter is about the separable and non-separable verbs in German, also called trennbare und nicht trennbare Verben. So we have verbs that need to be separated when you start conjugating them. This is what that chapter is about. So let's start with the first slide, and on the first slide it is about the nicht trennbare Verben, which are the or the inseparable verbs. Okay, here we have a group of prefixes. Okay, whenever you see these prefixes in front of a verb or added to a verb, it means that those verbs are not separable. Okay. We can take different verbs, like let's say here zahlen, to pay. If we add the prefix be, as you see here, then it's bezahlen and it means to pay for. Okay, fangen, for example, means to catch. If we say empfangen, if we add the prefix emp, then it means to receive. So depending on which prefix you add to a verb, the meaning can completely change, or it actually does change in most of the times completely. But for you to notice, it's not possible to add any prefix to any verb. There are certain combinations. Okay, so you can say bezahlen, but you cannot not say empzahlen or erzahlen, for example. That combination does not work, but there are certain combinations which do work, and then the meaning changes. Okay, so the actual verb here, zahlen, is to pay, bezahlen, to pay for. In the next slide that we are going to look at, that are going to be the separable verbs. That's why you need to study those groups of the prefixes. Okay, to differentiate those two groups of verbs, like the inseparable and the separable verbs, is that those prefixes here by themselves don't have a meaning. Okay, they don't mean anything by themselves. The other group that I'm going to show you, they actually do have a meaning. They are also prepositions. Okay, the only word here that has a meaning is When it stands by itself, it means he. All other ones don't mean anything. So let's have a look at a few examples here. So bezahlen means to pay for something. Ich bezahle das Buch. I pay for the book, for example. Empfangen, to receive. Ich empfange meine Gäste. I'm receiving my guests. So you see, you add those prefixes, but the verbs just stay together. You just you conjugate this new verb here, empfangen. You conjugate it exactly the same as the verb fangen. All you have to do is to add this prefix emp at the beginning, but the conjugation does not change. The conjugation is exactly the same as if it is for the actual verb here, which is fangen. So if the actual verb here is irregular, then the new created word with the prefix is also irregular most of the times. Okay, zahlen, for example, ist ich zahle, du zahlst, sie, es zahlt, and so on. So bezahlen, the conjugation is the same. Ich bezahle, du bezahlst, sie, es bezahlt, and so on and so forth. Okay, will stay the same. If it is irregular, then the new created word will also be irregular in most of the times. Okay. So entscheiden means to decide. Karen entscheidet schnell. Karen decides fast. Erzählen means to tell. Kevin erzählt eine Geschichte. Kevin tells a story. Genießen, to enjoy. Wir genießen die Sonne. We are enjoying the sun. Missverstehen, to misunderstand. Sie missverstehen sich ständig. They misunderstand each other all the time. Verlieren, to lose. Verliert seine Geduld. Now, just for you to one note on the side, not all the verbs or the word after the prefix does have a meaning. Lieren, for example, is not a verb. It doesn't mean anything by itself. Okay, but you have to say verlieren, and then it means to lose something. Verstehen has a meaning by itself. Niesen means to sneeze. Zählen, to count. Okay, so most verbs do have a meaning without the prefix. Some don't. Like in this case here, verlieren, lieren, alone without the prefix doesn't mean anything. Okay, und dann zerbrechen, it means to break something, but it's about something very fragile like glass or porcelain. So Andrea zerbricht etwas jeden Tag. Andrea breaks something every day. Okay, so you would have to learn this group of prefixes here, okay, which do not have a meaning by themselves except of Okay, so that are the inseparable verbs and non-separable verbs. They just stay together, just normal. Okay, so this is not too difficult. Now we're going to look at the next group, which are the separable verbs. Okay, so the separable verbs, trennbare verben. These ones we have to separate as soon as we start conjugating. And here you have the list of all prefixes which we add in front of a verb, and then the meaning changes. Okay, if you look at those, they all have a meaning. All by themselves, if they are standing by themselves, do mean something. They are either a preposition or another word, but they have a meaning. They don't need to be together with the verb or in front of the verb in order to have a function like with the inseparable verbs. Okay, those have all a meaning by themselves. So let's have a look at one very often used separable verb, which is aufstehen. It means to get up. Aufstehen. Okay, so you see here the prefix auf. Here it's in the group of the separable verbs, and then stehen means to stand, und aufstehen to get up. So if you start conjugating, you have to separate it. You have to conjugate this verb as usual. So ich stehe, which means I stand, and then at the very end of the sentence comes the prefix. It always takes the last position. This is very important. Okay, you have to put it at the end of the sentence. So ich stehe 8 Uhr auf. It means I get up at 8 a.m. Okay, I get up. Ich stehe 8 Uhr auf. As you see, it's separated because it belongs to the group of the separable verbs, die trennbaren Verben. Okay, here is a list of some further irregular verbs. It would be great if you take some time to study those because they are very commonly used. Abnehmen, for example, means to decrease or to lose weight, depending on the context. So die Verspannung nimmt ab. Nehmen is an irregular verb if it stands by itself. Nehmen, to take, it's irregular. It's ich nehme, du nimmst, sie, es nimmt, and then wir nehmen, and then the rest stays normal again. But for the conjugation of du and sie, es, the e is changing to an I. It belongs to the irregular verbs. Okay, so the new created word added with the prefix here at the beginning is also irregular. So you would have to say here, die Verspannung nimmt ab. Okay, it means the Verspannung is the tension. So it belongs, if we talk about the tension, it's sie, it belongs to he, she, it. So it's here irregular, nimmt, nimmt ab. Die Verspannung nimmt ab. Or Paul nimmt sehr langsam ab, which means Paul loses weight very slowly. Okay, as you see, the prefix always needs to be at the end of the sentence. It always takes the last position. So just for you to know where actually to put it. Sich anziehen means to get dressed. It's reflexive. This sich means that it's a reflexive verb. Ziehen means to pull. Anziehen, to get dressed or to put on clothes. Okay, du ziehst dich jeden Morgen an. Here you see the first position, the subject, then comes the verb, which is ziehen, the actual verb, then comes the reflexive form, which is dich, because you are getting dressed every day, like you are putting clothes on yourself, let's say. Du ziehst dich, the reflexive pronoun takes the third position, and at the very end comes the prefix. It always takes the last position. As you see here, all in red letters, it's always the last word, or the last word or prefix here in every sentence. Okay, aufstehen, we just looked at that. Ausgehen means to go out. Hannah geht oft aus. Hannah often goes out. Again, you conjugate the word gehen. The actual word here is gehen, to go, and then the prefix comes at the end. Beibringen, to teach someone something, but beibringen is not like teaching something at school or in a lesson. It's more like teaching, like learning by doing, let's say, or what parents teach their children, or maybe what you teach your friends. It's not an official class. For that we use beibringen, okay, to teach someone something. Eltern bringen ihren Kindern Disziplin bei. Okay, parents teach their children discipline. Again, the prefix at the end. Loslassen, to let let loose. Der Matrose lässt das Seil los. Mitmachen, to join, participate. Stefan macht überall mit. I will just read all the sentences just for your listening comprehension, so you get used to the German pronunciation and how the language sounds. Okay, you can always have a look at the translation here if you want to study the words. Nachprüfen, to check, to review. Der Techniker prüft die Temperatur nach. Vorwerfen, to blame someone for something. Ich werfe dir nichts vor. Weglaufen, to run away. Die Teenagerin läuft regelmäßig weg. Then zusagen, to accept an invitation or to appeal to someone or something. Ich sage der Einladung zu. I accept the invitation. Diese Farbe sagt mir sehr zu. This color appeals to me a lot, actually, because it's sehr here. Zurückkommen, to come back. Mein Mann kommt bald zurück. My husband returns soon. Okay, zurückkommen. That is a list here that you should study. Okay, and please write a few sentences just to practice the word order and also to get used to the separable verbs, because this is an important part in the German grammar. And yeah, I hope you learned something new in this chapter, and see you in the next one. Tschüss, bis bald.